Captain Drogan is dialing the heat up on the rebels. With the introduction of Captain Drogan, we are finally in that last stretch to Galactic Legends Leia Organa. And before even talking about Galactic Legends Leia Organa, the three things that I love about this character are the following. He's like the Hermit Yoda of the Rebellion now, jacking up their offense and potency by at least 50%. Woo! Making some big hits. Ba, ba, ba. Thing number two that I like, he truly does hit really darn hard, especially on that basic ability with the keen stratagem and all the offense ramping throughout his kit. The third thing, this guy has the highest base potency in the game, leading to him having very consistent debuff applications such as stuns on a basic. You know how hard it is to stun a high tenacity Chewie? It ain't no problem for this guy. But there's a fourth thing on the table that we just can't realize right now. Because of Galactic Legends Leia Organa, there is so much more that this character has the offer that we just aren't seeing yet, and I'm talking about burning. And we'll talk a bit more about that in this video. Although we can't go in crazy depth on this character until ultimately Leia comes to the game, there's a few key things that are going to show he's got such a bigger future. Look at these stats, for example. Incredible tenacity, just from a base level. Incredible impotency, the highest base potency in the game that only gets higher through his unique abilities and keen stratagem. He's also got some fairly decent speeds that he's working with, and keep in mind, eventually when you get the Galactic Legends Leia Organa, I'm sure there's gonna be other speed ramping mechanisms, but he ain't a slow guy by any stretch of the imagination. Very solid stuff to be working with. The developers are trying to foremost sell this as a Saw Gerrera lifter very shortly. But primarily in the preliminary testings before we have access to Omicron's, Mon Mothma looked really solid with Captain Drogan because he's a rebel fighter. And on top of that, by far I think the best use that I am seeing before we get into grand arenas and territories turning on the individual Omicrons, Sana Starros. Woo! Holy cow! She's loving Captain Drogan right now. But it's only gonna be temporary until Leia comes around. It's to the point where it looks like you might be able to like dismantle a Java crew with the Sana Starros team thanks to the massive offense boost that Drogan's bringing to the table. As we said, the basic ability coordinated shot has some pretty solid damage. He's going to be assisting a lot off allies of keen stratagem, a new buff that supercharges the team. And if it's his turn, he gets to apply stun. And it's not going to be hard to hit that stun with the high potency that he has. So before even looking at the Geo Leia and the picture that I really want to set for you guys, he's getting several uses already inside of the game. We got to admit, the Geo Leia marquee characters they've added, they're pretty much all solid, with the weakest one maybe being Nisa, but even so, very good addition for the Ewoks, doing very solid things. And Drogan's no exception. He is also very useful in the meantime. I'm not going to talk too much about Saw Gerrera. My hopes, every time Saw Gerrera comes up, my hopes get up that he's gonna get better. Well, the good news is he does have an Omicron, both Saw Gerrera and Captain Drogan, that we can't fully appreciate until we're in Grand Arena. So there might be a chance in Grand Arena this could be very good. And the developers weren't wrong that Saw Gerrera could get better. I'm not quite seeing Saw be very good with Drogan, but I guess technically Saw Gerrera is a little bit better with Captain Drogan, but not to the extent I think Mon Mothma as well as Sana Starros especially are turning out to be. In the aspect when it comes to Mon Mothma, the keen stratagem is kind of a big deal for things like Kyle Katarn. Kyle Katarn hits so dang hard. Once that keen stratagem gets over to Kyle Katarn, getting an extra 50% off is along with the other variety of things, helping out the rebel fighters. It was nice being able to see the Mon Mothma Kyle Katarn crew be a bit more usable. They've kind of fallen to the wayside. Captain Drogan can boost them up. Then we have things like Sana Starros, who are really the shining forces of this testing we did. I love the Sana Starros team. It would be an amazing defensive team if Hux didn't exist and shut down turn meter gains. But putting that aside, Sana Starros with Captain Drogan is a huge powerhouse team because of all the massive turn meter cheese of Stormtrooper Han, Cara Dune that we all love. Getting Captain Drogan to quickly spread around keen stratagem, especially on Rebel Officer Leia Organa, the team just got a massive boost in power. Remember, keen stratagem is kind of like Master's training for the Rebels. 50% offense and potency is no joke. I love giving, for example, the keen strategy from the Rebel Officer Leia Organa. Rebel Officer Leia Organa gets called to assist, dropping buff immunity, and then Drogan gets to assist off his own turn and allows him to stun on coordinated shots. Very powerful opening plays that Drogan can set up with solid damage. And then Leia, Rebel Officer Leia Organa, I should say, specifically, with the 50% offensive potency, her AoE just absolutely decimates. And the potency basically just ensures the ability blocks are going to land. And we see with these opportunities afforded to us because of Captain Drogan, we're able to easily help out the Rebel fighters, for example, or Starros. And we can see with Starros, she's able to be competitive up against things like potentially Resistance, the Zora team, absolutely deadly team. Captain Rex and the Phoenix. Heck, I was even able to go up against General Anakin Skywalker, which felt really dang good. That extra offense boost really helped get gassed down quickly, the rest of the clones out quickly, with the turn meter cheese working in our favor with Cara Dune and Stormtrooper Han. But it even went to the point that there might be a solid opportunity to kind of Night Sister cheese a Java team with Starros. If you don't have Night Sisters laying around because you don't have Marin quite up and running, first off, get your Marin. We don't need to go into that right now. But furthermore, a lot of people have Starros already built up, right? Because of Dr. Raffer from last year. Being able to maybe piecemeal a Jabba to then maybe bring in a Rebel fighter crew to clean up Jabba. This might be another one of those Night Sister cheesy opportunities. Constantly running a turn meter train around Jabba, mashing with big, massive damage with Rebel Officer Leia Organa. Some pretty cool stuff happening there. But all this that we've described so far is temporary. I'll be honest, if Geo Leia was not even on the radar, this is a character that's going to get used. There are so many different Rebel lineups that would love to have Drogan's cleanse, his keen strategy, importantly, and the damage that he's laying down and the buff the spells. Truthfully, this is the character that's going to be great independent of Geo Leia, but let's be honest, a character usually goes to their best spot they slot in with, and that's going to be Geo Leia Organa. No official release date for Geo Leia Organa, but developers have already kind of laid down some teasers as to what Geo Leia is going to be offering. The first teaser we got with Geo Leia Organa was the road ahead that we had for July, where they gave us Leia's basic ability, where Rebel allies are going to get retribution, and Drogan hits really hard. If you haven't noticed by the gameplay or the variety of things throughout the kit that ramp up his damage, he's going to hit really freaking hard. So having him counterattack is quite deadly. Such as the ideal team that CG's already telling us that the Leia's crew is going to have. They did a little live stream the other day on their Capital Games Twitch channel where they talked a little bit about Drogan and a little bit about Leia. And the two things they laid out were, number one, burning's going to be the core function of this team, and R2 is going to finally have a permanent home where he's truly valued. The problem with R2 is he's not bad, he's just not particularly needed. This is going to make R2 needed and heavily utilized, which I'm stoked for. But the burning, we don't know quite yet. But in August, they did release some extra information about Leia, where maybe burning could be turned into a fracture. Developers mentioned that Leia is going to have some sort of capability to fracture an entire enemy team. That's nuts. They might tie burning to do something funny like that. Burning by itself is a pretty bleh debuff. It served its purpose to kill off the Maul, dodge meta, but then it never was really useful beyond that. But there are things making things like burning more useful. Take Jango and Trench. You know, despite Trench's flaws, he does make Jango a pretty deadly force. Preventing counterattacks, for example, by the use of burning. Trench makes use of burning far more than burning can do itself. They're going to do something with that with Leia. We just got to wait and see. And I guess since we're already looking at little teasers, Leia prevents cooldown manipulation, as we were told, which means Jedi Master Kenobi cannot reduce Commander Tano's insta-kill. That's kind of a big deal, but a little irrelevant to the Drogan-Leia conversation. Next thing about Leia that we know, Drogan, R2 are going to be that core trio, but they also kind of indicated that there's going to be some other great opportunities, such as Old Ben Kenobi and Kanan Jarrus being utilized on the team. So if you're, I don't want to say start gearing them up, but if you're looking to maybe bolster up your Old Ben a little bit, which a lot of people have because of Master Luke requirements, it's good to see that we're getting use out of other characters throughout the game. Hopefully Kanan's not too important, so I want him to be utilized with the Phoenix more so than Leia. That we'll have to wait and see. But we know on top of it, like I alluded to earlier, they didn't quite say he's a Commander Tano in terms of like insta-killing, but it's pretty good. With the damage he's laying down, it might feel like an insta-kill potentially. And I'm already seeing that before Leia comes into the game. I'm sure she's going to ramp up mastery, all that other fun stuff. There's also some other interesting things that we're not fully appreciating, such as second in command. Whenever his turn meter is removed, he recovers 20% protection, gains 60% offense. Leia might have something that makes her whole team lose turn meter. Indirectly ramps up the damage that Drogan can lay down. With Keen Stratagem, 60% offense gains, 75% more damage on his basic the first time he uses it, and a variety of leaders and other passives could be great. But there's one more thing I want to lay down that we're not seeing right now, because we're not seeing R2 be be really good at the moment, really utilized, there's something very important I want to lay out. It's not just the burning from R2, burning from Drogan. It's going to be something bigger, but it's the damage and unique abilities of R2 that I really want to talk about. We might need a little bit of a touch-up on R2 again. You know, he's all right. He's got the burning through improvise, which really isn't all that special right now, but it's going to be a bit more special with Leia, of course. Stuns on the basic, like Drogan, will be nice. The smoke screen's probably going to play a big role. Probably smoke screen's going to be landed on Leia. She'll be out in the open protecting the rest of the team. Get ready for R2 to be a menace. But two things. Combat analysis, number one, self-cleanses anytime a light side ally is scoring a critical hit. Big deal. But number crunch. Let's dive into that. R2D2 is a stat sharing machine that we just haven't really been able to fully appreciate, but I think when you consider Leia and how R2 is going to get 10% max protection for each droid, 10% offense for each Galactic Republic, 10% max health for each Rebel ally, which is basically going to be the full GL Leia team, and 10% potency for each Resistance ally. R2 is all of those. So right there, you're going to at least get all those bonuses. But being able to get an additional 50% max health on a Rebel team for GL Leia, holy cow, that's going to be huge. But R2D2, Rebel, R2 is going to share 10% of those stats to the rest of the GL Leia crew. They'll be getting 10% of R2's max protection, offense, max health, and potency. And the one thing that's very interesting, Drogan is special damage, right? R2, all of his abilities are special damage. R2 is going to ramp up his offense a little bit, and then he's going to share it. So this is going to be an additional opportunity for Drogan to jack up that damage even more. So we're getting into the weeds a little bit. This is going to be a big deal for Drogan and Galactic Legends Leia. R2D2, I'm excited to see you be that annoying menace that he should be in this game. Briefly, I want to talk about Zeta's Omicron. So we're going to talk a little bit about mods. The mods are probably going to totally change once Leia comes into the game, but I want to show what I like right now. Zetas, primarily. 2 Zetas on this guy. It's kind of a tough call which one to do first. His basic ability stuns if it's his turn, and he's basically guaranteed to land the stun so long as there's not like some tenacity up in his way. But I think you're probably going to want to throw the second in command Zeta first. It allows him to start off with Keen Stratagem again, ramping up that damage. It's going to allow him to assist anytime an ally has Keen Stratagem and they're taking a turn. He helps get 5% protection recovery for allies of Keen Stratagem, and probably more importantly, he's doubling the effects of Keen Stratagem to give you 50% potency and offense instead of 25%. Kind of a big deal. And of course, eventually, if you have a leader that has a Rebel tank, which is primarily going to be Leia, Drogan's going to get 100% protection up, so he's going to be quite durable under the team. And remember, protection up is based off max health, and his unique ability, Omicron, gives more max health, R2 gives more max health, Leia gives more max health. Let's not get too crazy right now. It's going to be a big deal, getting that protection up with GL Leia. I'm probably going to opt for Coordinated Shot to be the second Zeta you apply. It's got the stun, but the stun only works if it's his turn. I think second in command is going to have a bit more overarching uses, but I don't want to undervalue the fact that he can start his first turn, passing Keen Stratagem, then doing a basic ability, landing a stun. It's kind of big. Omicron, I think this is going to be an Omicron everyone's going to end up applying, especially once you have Galactic Legend Leia Organa, whether soon or next year. Firstly, he gets 50% max health, and as we just said, Protection Up is going to be a big deal. Protection Up is based off max health, and he's going to get even more max health through this and other ways, and he's going to be immune to ability blocks so long as there's a Rebel tank lead, which you could use Stormtrooper on Old Ben, but they're talking about Leia in this regard. But he has passive cleanses for the team, so it's already crazy that RT is going to allow cleanses off critical hits. Drogan's going to allow cleanses just passively. Whenever he takes a turn, he's going to dispel all debuffs from another random ally, have them recover 25% health and protection. This is where maybe Saw Gerrera will get better that I just can't see yet, because you can't use Omicrons in Squad Arena. When Drogan scores a critical hit, Rebel allies are getting a 10% turn meter. Yeah, that's going to be kind of nice. So that's only going to permanently work with Saw Gerrera, not really with GL Leia. I'm going to talk briefly on mods here. I'm not going to go too crazy in depth, but I think there's a couple things we want to shoot for. One, I really want to lean into the speed capabilities that he has. I want him getting a lot of turns. I want more cleanses. I want more turns so his unique ability can do that passive cleanse, all that other fun stuff. But I think we should probably be looking at leaning into his offense. He's got really good special offense, and it's only going to get higher as we've demonstrated, be through Keen Stratagem and many other things. He's hitting hard. Let's not undervalue it. So I'm thinking probably some offense on this cross down here. The good news is you don't need to worry about potency or tenacity. He's pretty well taken care of just through his base stats. Critical damage might also be very solid, or maybe more offense on this triangle. Again, we're trying to lean into as much damage as possible, and it's only going to get better GL Leia. The second set, if you really need the second set here, I think there's two ways to go. One, especially when you get GL Leia, a health set might not be bad to make sure you're getting the most out of that max protection up benefit, but getting critical chance sets might not be a bad deal either to ensure we're landing critical hits to feed Terminator through his passive ability if you're using Saw Gerrera, for example, or just making sure he's landing big critical hits. And depending on where the future of the Geo Leia crew goes, you know, I could definitely see an offense arrow being used up here, just really making his damage as high as possible. He's already got some decent speed, so maybe you could sacrifice a speed primary for an offense primary potentially. Overall, a lot of ways to utilize this guy, and it's only going to get better. So that's basically where we are right now with Captain Drogan. This is just the floor of his viability, and we haven't even seen the ceiling yet. Is he the best character this year? No, he's solid. He's got a lot of plug-and-play uses with Rebels, and ultimately a home in a Geo Leia crew where his damage is going to get ramped up even more, and there are just some things we can't fully appreciate, like burning, protection up until Leia comes into the game. He's going to be kind of a big deal. This character, the closest similarity I can give is like Bausch Leia Organa. For Bausch Leia Organa, she wasn't fully appreciated until Jabba came around and the thermal detonator synergy just went through the roof. But on the upside, I find him more useful than Bausch Leia was before Jabba came. You're going to find uses, you're going to find a home for this guy. That I can promise you. And that's going to wrap it up for today's initial review of Captain Drogan. Or we were kind of making some jokes in the chat. Seth Drogan, Joe Drogan. Whatever the case may be, this guy's a fun character to utilize. So hopefully you enjoyed, just like I hope you enjoyed your time here. Leave that like, comment down below, and all your beautiful thoughts. And be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And always remember how it's great to be in the Empire today.